Welcome to the American Debunk. In this video, we'll debunk the Tulsi Gabbard is a Russian agent hoax. When Tulsi Gabbard was nominated by President-elect Donald Trump in November 2024 as Director of National Intelligence, media outlets and political critics reignited accusations that she was a Russian asset. These claims relied on a few key arguments. First, her comments about biolabs in Ukraine were twisted to suggest she was amplifying Russian propaganda. Next, her critiques of NATO expansion were framed as justifications for Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And lastly, her meeting with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad was spun as proof of her alignment with Russian interests. These claims were repeated in headlines and op-eds, with critics branding her a major win for Vladimir Putin. The first point stems from a video Tulsi posted in 2022 expressing concerns about biological research labs in Ukraine during the war. Critics claim she echoed Kremlin disinformation about bioweapons, but let's hear her actual words.
Here are the undeniable facts. There are 25 to 30 U.S.-funded biolabs in Ukraine. According to the U.S. government, these biolabs are conducting research on dangerous pathogens. Ukraine is in an active war zone with widespread bombing, artillery, and shelling, and these facilities, even in the best of circumstances, could easily be compromised and release these deadly pathogens.
After watching this, it's clear Tulsi was raising legitimate concerns about the safety of these labs in an active war zone, not endorsing the baseless Russian narrative of bioweapons production. She even clarified in later statements that her focus was biosecurity risks, not conspiracy theories. The World Health Organization also shared these same concerns. Next, her comments about NATO and Ukraine were framed as justifications for Russia's invasion. Tulsi argued that NATO expansion near Russian borders created security tensions, but acknowledging a geopolitical reality is not the same as endorsing an invasion. In fact, her consistent message has been about de-escalation and diplomacy. Her critics conveniently ignored her repeated calls for peace and framed her as sympathizing with Moscow instead. Finally, let's address her 2017 meeting with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. This was presented as proof of her alignment with adversarial regimes. However, Tulsi explained that her meeting aimed to explore pathways to end the Syrian conflict. Diplomacy doesn't equal endorsement, and her actions reflect her belief in prioritizing peace, even when controversial. If Tulsi Gabbard believed that meeting with Bashar al-Assad could help end the Syrian conflict and chose not to do so, what would that say about her? She acted based on her belief that dialogue could bring an end to the suffering of Syrians. She said, quote, "I think we should be ready to meet with anyone if there's a chance it could help bring about an end to this war, which is causing the Syrian people so much suffering," end quote. Now let's look at the techniques that were used to create this hoax using Hoaxology. Tulsi's actions, like criticizing U.S. foreign policy or meeting Assad, were framed as aligning her with adversarial regimes. The media repeatedly linked her to Russia and its allies without evidence, exploiting public fear of disloyalty. Tulsi was also labeled a Russian agent or asset in the headlines and political commentary, reducing her nuanced positions into a single negative stereotype. This tactic simplifies complex issues and attaches a stigma to her, influencing how the public perceives her without real objective analysis. And lastly, Tulsi's full statements were routinely ignored or stripped of context, turning her criticisms of U.S. policy into supposed endorsements of Russia. By combining these three techniques, critics crafted a narrative that was both misleading and damaging. Thanks for watching. For the full debunk to this hoax and dozens more, visit AmericanDebunk.com and make sure to follow us on X.